Hello and welcome to the first live cast in 2023. I hope you had a good start into this year. And I could start with some musings on the number 23. Of course, it's anybody's guess and opinion whether this year is a 23 or if it's, because it's 2020. But I wrote a whole newsletter about that in German. Sorry to tell the English speakers about that I didn't send those same thoughts out in English. To me, that whole playing with numbers and numerology, just to me, and this may be heresy to some of you who believe firmly in numerology, the principal, use of it, I guess, lies, in my opinion, and it's only an opinion and you're free to yours, in if you look at anything at all that catches your attention and strikes your fancy, strikes your imagination, and from that point on you investigate what resonance it is you have with that, then there is something meaningful and alive happening. So let me say that again. Rather than thinking, oh, this is a 23 year, so we must, or debating that and saying, no, this is not a 23 year, this is 2023, so it's a 2 plus 2 plus 3, 7, and therefore we must. And then someone else comes in, but oh, no, it's January 17, 2023, and then you add all that. Anytime you take something like that and say, therefore we must, I think you are making it a bit narrower than is useful, and again, in my opinion. But maybe there's also a way of doing that and not making it narrow. What surely is not narrow is if you look at anything, at any number anywhere, most of us, when looking at the year, will look at the fact that it's 2023. There isn't much dispute about that. It's not at all as arbitrary as a 23 striking my fancy on some package that I'm picking up or something like that. But any time a certain number, a certain element, a certain color strikes your fancy and has you go into the topic that activates for you, and you then engage in a living process of what could it look like if 23 is more of my focus and more of the world's focus this year, and you do some inner work with that. I don't want to sound grandiose. I don't mean inner work as in, do a 7-day retreat in the mountain or a 40-day one in the desert. I just mean anything as modest as you take a moment to feel, 23. Even if you feel, oh, there's a part of me that thinks of safety energy lock 23 under the 12th rib in the back as the place that gets really alarmed when we kick into fight or flight. And then you realize, but wait, that's no longer looking at the essence of 23, that's already looking at a disharmony. And 23 this year may really become one of those really alarming fight and flight years. If you realize, and there's a part of me that knows that in its essence, 23 is that reservoir of energy where I collect life energy reserves like in a quiet mountain lake. Being 23 is, I always have something left over. I always have some time left over. I always have some energy left over. I always have a bit of time, a spare bit of energy over to think things through rather than be alarmed and carried away by them. That sort of thing. And then you decide, I think it might be really beneficial to myself and all if I let that be quite a bit of my focus for this year? Or is it a 5? And would I let this be a year where, as fragile as we each are, and as life and the world are, I will be as much of a flower opening to what's here right now. I will be as much of that 5-petaled flower with my 5 senses as I can, so as to make sure that the delicacy that 5 stands for, the delicate, unafraid yes, to opening up to life, even if that's more perilous than staying shut. You know, if the flower in spring stays shut, then the rain and the hail can't come and damage it. So it's safe that it won't be damaged if it never opens. It's also safe that it will never bear fruit. That's kind of the lesson in number 5. Or if 7 is what this year, because it's 2 plus 2 plus 3, speaks off to you, and that brings you to the point of saying, well, you know, with 7, I go to the bottom of things. I go all the way into what's here right now. Release what is extraneous, and give myself the impulse for the next step that's mine to set. Maybe I'll make sure to make that a big focus this year. So since I've given you 3 examples, one for 23, one for 5, one for 7, you may say, so then it turns pretty arbitrary. But listen again to what I just said. There's actually nothing arbitrary about this. On the contrary, because the fact that your consciousness is turning to it, that your sensory awareness is, that your curiosity, that your spirit is tuning into it, makes it alive for you, makes you think about it in a way that is not just conceptual and quickly turns dogmatic, but is actually alive and creative and doing something with it, so that you'll be embodying that aspect more, which can't help but make a difference for you personally, for those around you, and in a small or big way for the world at large. So that, I believe, is far more than arbitrary, because why did this one catch your fancy rather than that one? Why did this aspect retain your attention, not that one? When we get to trust that, then we discover ourselves as both an artist and a protagonist of our lives, right? As an artist, as a protagonist, as one who listens to what's there inside and outside, one who listens and actively reacts, rather than one who listens and obeys. You know, listen, there's listening, what's catching my attention, and there's listening to what they say I must be thinking about this year, you know. So one is listening without listening, really, and the other is listening with a 13ness, that is, with a sensory and heart curiosity and a spirit's curiosity. And one is listening not from 13, not from your own enthusiasm and heart, but already just from a mind that wants to hold on to things and be dogmatic about them. All right, well, that was an unplanned intro to this evening, but hopefully quite useful for many of you. And now let's relax into the feeling exercise, as always. Find a pleasant and connected way to sit. Make your ears, make your sense of hearing as wide as you possibly can. deeply listening out and listening in. And when I speak of listening out, I actually mean listen out beyond any object of hearing. That is, not saying listen out for distant traffic noise or the singing of birds outside your window, but open your sense of hearing and feel what it is like to be in listening, to listen beyond the audible. And I don't mean that in a metaphorical or esoteric sense. I mean it in a quite literal and practical sense. I don't mean instead of listening to traffic noise, listen to the angels sing. No product of your imagination, no supposedly higher sphere is what we are going for, but an activation of your physical sense of hearing where you can clearly distinguish between the objects of hearing and the reaching out that happens with hearing, or rather the opening out. And once you have gotten a pretty good sense of the feeling of vastness, of vast openness that this provides, without letting go of a sense of listening out beyond the objects that you can hear, gently direct your attention to the other end, that of listening in. Listening into yes, the body, yet as you literally listen into the body, just as you were literally listening into the space around you, in the listening within also go beyond. Single details you may be picking up on, and get an overall sense of what it feels like to be so attuned and listening to what's alive and vibrant within you, and to what is alive and vibrant outside of you. And now I would like you to feel that you are reaching out even further with your listening outside. And as you do so, symmetrically let the listening inside deepen as well. Then see if you can do this the other way around. Can you deepen the listening within, while at the same time feeling that the listening out also intensifies? You may choose to repeat this a few more times. And observe what the effects that you can feel in your physical body are. Is there a sense of warmth? Is there a sense of deepening presence in your body? Is there a sense of enhanced space? To round off this feeling exercise, this meditation, let's first gather our sensory awareness in the lower belly, below the navel, the belly button area. See if you can have your sensory awareness gather there. In a warm ball of energy. Then let your sensory awareness wander up to your heart area, the energetic heart center in the middle of your body. And next, in an energetic ball roughly between your ears, feeling the lower portion of your skull. Sorry, I was just checking what the streaming, not the streaming software, what the YouTube window was telling me about the current bitrate. It's warning me that may not be enough. No, now it is saying we have a good connection. Oh, whatever. I surely hope you were able to follow the feeling exercise. Now, I can't say that I led you into feeling anything even close to the circulation pattern of the Umbilicus Function Energy, which is this month's topic in the online study circle. But what I did go into was a key effect that it has, and a key notion that will be coming up in this month's questions. The key effect of Umbilicus Function Energy connecting and staying connected, as I announced it in the email and also in the title of this live stream, is that while Diaphragm Function Energy afforded us an opportunity to open and open and open and open and open, Umbilicus now sees to it that this opening is not actually just a nice trip every now and then, but something that changes how we live our lives, and something that, while it reaches out, reaches deeply in. That's where that feeling exercise was aiming. That's where it was going, as you probably felt in your body. All right, let's start tonight's questions and feedback. Let me just say again that anyone is indeed welcome to ask questions, whether you are a member of the study circle or not. But we have a lively discussion with some regulars here. By far not everybody who's in the study circle asks questions with any regularity at all, which is why I can still offer that opportunity for non-members to also ask. But it's lovely to have a fairly regular conversation with some of you. And Taj writes first some appreciation and feedback. 2 flow experiences to report this month, she writes. A couple of weeks ago I felt cold-like symptoms coming on. Remembered your admonition to use small intestine flow whenever there was something like a sore throat, even as I held those first 2 points. We don't say points, we say, yeah. Anyway, so as you were holding those first 2 safety energy locks, first 2 points, a wave of comfort and healing warmed into my chest. I can still remember the joy of that. Then, with extra water and rest, less than a day, and I was back to normal me. I'm glad you're picking up on that, and I will already second what you write at the end of the next thing you share, which is, Yes, I know Jiu-Jitsu is for more than just fixing the body, but it still is nice when it does. Now, what you've just, the example you have just given and the two aspects of it you have mentioned are a reason to celebrate that Jiu-Jitsu does so much more than just fix the body, and does so efficiently help the body so much of the time. So it's absolutely legitimate to celebrate the fact that the body gets helped, and it's absolutely legitimate to go to Jiu-Jitsu in order to help the body. It's just problematic when we think, oh, I don't understand why the result of 50 years of a certain attitude to life didn't go away when I pushed the buttons they told me I should push. I pushed points 11 and 13 and the damn thing didn't go away. Well, that would obviously be because one only wants to push buttons to fix the thing, you know, which, as some people phrase it, is sort of killing the messenger rather than heeding the message. No, you know, you can, I don't think little of painkillers either. I think that somebody who has been in crucial pain probably knows just how wonderful it is to just take pain medication if nothing else is available or helps. In the long run, killing the messenger, I mean preventing the message from being sent, is of course not useful, which is why what Taj shares here is so key. I can still remember the joy of that, she says. Even as I held those first 2 points, a wave of comfort and healing warmed into my chest. I can still feel the joy of that. So that you can all experiment with that. It's still winter, it's still the middle of winter and cold season. 11 is at the shoulder seam, yeah? So, wait. I can't really come from behind to show it to you clearly, but it's here at the top of the shoulder seam. So I would hold my left 11 with my left hand and my right 13 here between third and fourth rib, roughly, with my right hand. Or the other way around, but it is right on right and left on left. Right on right and left on left. Yeah. And it is 11 and opposite 13. You will generally find that this 11 and 13, well, that any 11 and 13 combination relieves the pain in the throat most quickly on the side whose 13 you are holding. It's quite magical. And it's really good to use as soon as you feel anything like a cold coming on it. It's not even just sore throat. Yep, so. Number 2, I was sitting at the front row of the Boise Public Library at roomie night when I started coughing. I vainly tried to find some cough drops, which only added a rustling commotion to my coughing. God, haven't we all been there? I remember asking internally, is there any help here from Jiu-Jitsu? Then my right hand went to left 14 and left hand to right 13, right 19. Okay, so 14 under the last rib. Wait. Yes, now you can see my 14. So, right hand went to left 14 and left hand went to right 19. Here at the elbow bend, thumb side. Yeah. And, surprise to me, the coughing stopped. I hadn't done any calculating about what might work. Well, it's not terrible that you didn't do any calculating, but if you didn't do it because somebody had said so, then surely it couldn't have been right. I'm only joking. It was body leading mind. See, that's why Mary said Jiu-Jitsu is an art. That's what she means, and this is what everybody's experienced, quite frankly. Body leading mind. So the body tells you, do this. And this just happens time and time and time again. And Jin-Shin-Jitsu practitioners who are just learning to work with others, those quickies that really make a difference in emergency situations, more often than not, we find ourselves holding something before we remember that that was indeed what we had been told one can hold in such emergencies. So here, it was body leading mind, and only afterwards I realized this was the start of the diaphragm flow. Sweet. Since that time, I've deliberately reached for those points when I started coughing with good success. Yes, I know, Jin-Shin-Jitsu is more than just fixing the body, but it's still nice when it does. And then Taj asks me the all-important question, will you be continuing the online study circle after this course ends in March? Absolutely yes. If so, I'm curious about the topic. So am I. Next in your book is Sensing Organ Function Energy in the Pulses, followed by other juicy stuff. Maybe something along those lines? Or, if that's not possible or not your choice and not your desire, maybe a huge Mongo Pongo 13, 14, 15 class? Or an All Things Fingers class? Curious me. All right, well, I will be telling you as soon as I have made that decision. There are a few ideas in the pipeline. What I've been doing in the German language online study circle since we finished organ function energy there in March of last year is, rather than moving ahead with the question, so who really is, we shifted into a more practical sounding question, which is, so how do you do, or how do you work with, in German that's easy language-wise, wie geht das eigentlich? How does this thing work with, and then we went into, so how do you work with the pelvis? So how do you work with the shoulder girdle? So how do you work with the shoulders? So how do you work with the neck? So how do you work with the head? So how do you work with the throat? So how do you work with the back side of the chest, and front side of the chest, and the upper belly, and the lower belly? Those are the chapters we have gone in the past 10 months. Lower belly is what we have going there this month. So that may be one option. And there are some others in the pipeline, and I found it very interesting and actually challenging to feel that the energy of the times are asking me to be okay with not knowing just how I'll continue. The same for the German language online study circle. I just don't have that certainty that usually comes so easily about how to continue, but it'll happen, and I will be sure to let you know, and to let you know in time. Thanks for bringing that up. And then we move on to Taj's questions. 2 questions this month. Special body function. This one's lovely. We're going to have a lot of fun. This is me speaking, that's not on paper. I like going through all the segments of the energy circulation, not only by tracing it on my body, but other ways, like all of one of the quickies or all the starting points for the flow pattern. I have a bodily context for the overall grouping of main central, safety energy lock, and organ function energy quickies, but I have no feeling place for the overall grouping of a special body function energy quickies. Again, for those who are not in the study circle, every month with each of the organ function energy, I give the 4 so-called quickies, quick self-help thingies, that Mary Burmeister indicated for each of the 12 organ flow aspects, right? And Mary gave 1 quickie on what she called main central level, and actually that quickie always is holding a finger that clears a vertebra, that relates to the organ. So it's not really main central relating to organ function energy. It is a vertebra connecting to the organ. To me, that sounds like a pretty physical level, but she calls it main central level because the main central vertical energy flow, of course, does go through the spine. And 26 safety energy lock level quickie is using a safety energy lock or a combination of safety energy locks that generally have a pretty clear connection as to their personality, the personality and identity and vibration of that energy lock in relationship to that of the organ flow. The organ function energy quickie has to do with, well, generally is a place located on the organ function's actual circuit in the body. And what Taj is asking about is, what's the connection of special body function energy quickies? Just to establish the context for the question. Could you speak about this, covering things like the following? Why did Mary make these as a group and name them what she did? What kind of life experience relates to special body function energy? What area of my life does special body function energy build or affect? What's the commonality for the special body function quickies? Open to anything you can add to my understanding to give the special body function energy quickies a special chair of their own. That is a lovely question, and I'm already reading it differently than on my first read through, where I just, was smiling from one ear to the next, thinking I will be so happy to respond to all of those 4 questions by saying I have no idea. But actually that's not quite true. I will specify what I do and what I don't have an idea about. I will also add that my idea, like my ideas about anything, may be off the mark. But my understanding is this. Jin-Shin Jitsu speaks of 3 different levels of subtlety that are all still energetic levels, but one denser than the one before it, or one more subtle than the next. So main central, supervisor and mediator function energy, in Mary's terminology, unmanifest level, the non-manifest, contains core principles such as having a center, having 2 sides, and having a need for and a capability for connection, and for action and movement. Basic elements of being alive in body, mind, or spirit. Then comes what we've been working with for these past 10 months plus 3, the 3 introductory chapters from January to March 22. And that is the manifesting level. It's organ function energy, the exciting journey of consciousness building a body. And then on the manifested level, the manifested level, there's special body function energy. So special body function energy is called that, to the best of my knowledge, because Jim Murai actually called it that. But to me, the perfect sense that special body function energy makes is, it is specifically for sort of closing the gaps still left in the body after organ function energy has done its job. Let me explain. This is just a metaphor and a model of sorts. I do not believe that main central is a thin line. If it were, we would need to define just how fine a line it is. Is it a nanometer? Is it 2 millimeters wide? Is it? To me, it's a band of energy. To me, this whole imagery of lines is an approximation that is probably very, very coarse and not precise at all, and actually not really accurate. That's my take on that. But that being said, let's work with it anyway and pretend that we could, with some validity, make a sculpture out of thin metal thread that shows the circulation of main central vertical energy in the body, or rather in the formation of a body. The body is not yet there, energy precedes it. This is the basic thought of Jinshinjutsu. Now, natural scientists may say that's utter nonsense, but something is necessary for the form to be and consistently be where it is, and what it is, and how it is. So something forms, and something when I move around stays connected, and something when I settle down, and something after I've been shaken still is recognizably in that form. There's an information system that works. I believe that what we call energy, and what I'm now trying to sort of model with the image of a metal thread, is more on the information level of holding us together than it literally is what I'm describing it as. But the blueprint for you or me having a center, and a sense of center, and a sense of middle, and a sense of spine, and a sense of a backbone, and a sense of verticality is a kind of information flow that goes down the front and up the back, the middle of the body. So if we were to create an image of that with wire, we'd have this legless creature that looks like a legless silhouette of a human being. And most children and adults would already recognize that as a human being. Just notice that it awkwardly lacks legs. But when you then take more wire and build the supervisory circulation patterns into space next to the main central egg that you've just created, then that silhouette has legs, and now truly everybody recognizes that that's a human silhouette. Where are the arms, you may ask? You take more wire and draw the mediator, sculpt the mediator circulation pattern into space. And now you have left and right and center being connected because something wraps around on a diagonal. But for the most part, there's still a lot of wind blowing through this sculpture that, while it now has arms, only has little fingers and thumbs on each hand, only a ring toe and a big toe on each foot, and so on. So this sculpture clearly recognizable, but a lot of the information we need for a functioning body is still missing, right? If you continue the wire sculpture and you go through with a building of 12 organ function energy, you end up with 10 fingers. I was going to say 10 fingers on each hand, but it's actually 10 fingers, 5 on each hand, as you probably know. And 5 toes on each foot, and the blueprint for all organs, and the blueprint for much of the body's functioning. But really the essential desire of, yeah, so lung function gives me a thumb and an index finger, but mostly it gives me a thumb and an index finger as an expression of my desire to be able to seize life and seize opportunities and seize objects. There's still a lot of wind blowing through the sculpture. For the thumb to be a fully functioning physical thumb, not just a little more, but quite a bit more will have to happen. So you add to 12 organ wires on the right and 12 organ wires on the left, 72,000 more on the right and on the left. And then you have the information wires that actually make a body that's so dense that the wind no longer does blow through there. That's the image I have used to explain my understanding of special body function energy for the last few decades. Now, so that is the part that I hope is helpful. And because my understanding is, all right, so we have the 1, we have the 3, we have the 12, and we have the many. I have never concerned myself, ever, with understanding special body function energy any further than that. Jeremiah has chosen to give us some of those special body function energy. Mary included some of those in her textbook too, and some she did not include. And even if we take all the ones that we can find in any of Jeremiah's notes, we are very, very far from 72,000. So which of those gap-filling, physical, body-enhancing flows, again, this is a model of thinking, are there actually 72,000? Does anyone know that? I don't. But I have absolutely no doubt about the fact that there are more specific body-enhancing information systems, also known as flows, than Jeremiah researched and described in detail. I'm not saying there are more than 72,000. I'm just saying there are more than the few that Jeremiah felt in his body and wrote down. And I'm totally fine with that. It has been my understanding that methods such as reflexology, foot reflexology, ear reflexology, and so on, may be working with more of these specific body maintaining energies, but I'm not certain about that either. So in large part because I've never tried as well, can't make sense of why the special body flow level quickies are what they are. I have no idea. It has never been an interest of mine to research that because, well, it's been quite a journey to research organ function energy in the way and to the extent that I have. And as far as I know, I'm still the only one doing that. So, you know, the life and spirit and purpose of organ function energy, once you understand it's not body repair, but it is repair, protect, and build body, consciousness, voice, and energy, right? So it's 3 times 4, 12 aspects to each organ function energy, so that's 144 total, rather than just body repair times 12. Yeah. So there you go. The question goes on though. I did find, Taj writes, this one sentence on page 64 of your book. From the confluence of all function energy, the first pathways of special body function energy come into being. These are the birth of the 144,000 special flow level, the manifested level. Can you give an example of these special body function pathways? No, I can't. But, or yes, I will. Mary gives those in her textbook. The ascending skin surface function energy, the descending deep skin function energy, the diagonal muscle function energy, and the expanding and contracting of chest and back function. Those are, if I'm not mistaken, the first 4 that she gives, that yes, apparently is born from this confluence, as I called it. That's my word, not hers. I think she speaks of combination or something like that. Does the term confluence, definition, a flowing together of two or more streams, refer to the 12 segments flowing together as one energy stream, or the whole segmented energy stream flowing together with what looks like main central? I ask these questions because at the start of this class in January 2022, holding these 12 points was our very first quickie. Maybe there's some relationship with that first quickie and the subsequent set of 4 quickies. Well, I chose the word confluence in my writing for exactly the reason that you gave. The definition that you gave here from the dictionary, the flowing together of two or more streams, that's exactly my understanding. This actually comes in part, I think Mary's writing is certainly open to being interpreted that way, and the all-combined energy, she calls it. She calls it the all-combined energy. And that to me sounds like a confluence. And the all-combined was often interpreted by colleagues of mine as the main central because it flows along the central line. Haruki Kato expressed the opinion quite strongly that this was not main central, this was a confluence of energy at the central line of the body, which to me sounds much closer to Mary's terminology of the all-combined energy, all-combined energy. She writes it that way, if I'm not mistaken, the all-combined energy. So that's, I mean, it's impossible to say it flows along the central line of the body and has nothing to do with the main central. So it is and it isn't, you know, it's visiting the place where main central flows, but to me that is indeed all the energy that has built the body, reminding itself maybe, or remembering where it stems from, remembering the central information that never goes away and that never stops nourishing it, and that it has special places of resonance with. This is also something that Mary transmitted from Gio Marai, who indicated that each organ function energy has its special place of contact, so to speak, or of resonance with the main central flow. And that is why I gave that as the first quickie. These are the places of resonance. 12 noon for the heart is easy to remember at the top of the head. 12 midnight, easy to remember as being at the tip of the coccyx. And then if you remember that 12 noon, while that certainly isn't the only time you have a heart function energy, 12 noon is when heart function energy starts having its 2 special hours of the day. And then as the sun already starts to move a little further down, it's 2 p.m. small intestine, 4 p.m. bladder, 6 p.m. kidney, and then we are going below the horizon and so on and so forth. So that's an exciting discovery. Next question. Last month I asked about diaphragm function energy showing up as a superficial. It's so funny. In the English study circle, I generally have fewer questions than in the German one. And in the English one, I've gone over, I will again be going just a few minutes over time this evening, and I've done that consistently, I think, for at least the last 3 months. And I guess that is because of the quality of the questions that always has me go into so much, well, so much general consideration of Jinshinjutsu. Last month I asked about diaphragm function energy showing up as a superficial pulse, a seeming flip when compared to the other organ pairs. Your answer explained a lot about why it was a chest flow and distinguished between a function energy and a descending effect. And then Taj is so kind as to transcribe part of my response from last month, saying spontaneous you usually doesn't remember what you said, which is absolutely true. Although on this particular one, I don't need to remember what I said last month because I have a very, very clear image of what this is. So what Taj is referring to is that diaphragm is an ascending flow, it's a chest flow going up towards the fingers, and umbilicus is a descending flow going from fingers down to the face and to the gut. And yet, all the other descending flows show up in superficial pulses when we listen to people's pulses to determine which flow to do. We listen with 3 fingers on each wrist, 3 and 3, that's 6 superficial pulses. Then we roll into deep pulses, and we would pick up ascending needs, as Mary said, in the deep pulses. So the reason diaphragm function energy shows up in the superficial pulses and umbilicus in the deep pulses is that, in Mary's vocabulary, descending needs are shown in superficial pulses. So yes, in the teaching videos and all the explanations of the study circle, I do explain, of course, that diaphragm function energy is a regular chest flow, meaning it goes out from the center and up. So how then does it have a descending function? And I also explained that umbilicus is a regular finger flow going down to head and gut. And how then does that help a general ascending action, or how does it respond to an ascending need? I'll give it another try of explaining that while diaphragm function energy is a chest flow that goes out, as do lung and heart, lung function is me wanting to seize things in the world. Yeah, so that's very personal, it's very personal. I am incarnating, I'm embodying, I want my share of life. I just want to seize life and its opportunities with my own hands. Leo is, it's me in the world, you know, it's me in the world. I am the center of this world as far as I experience it. And as I know that about myself, I know that about you too. You are the sun at the center of your life experience. That's what it is. So it's me at the center of my world. But diaphragm, still a chest flow that says there's so much to stretch and open out into. So this goes beyond me. This goes beyond me, and it is in stretching beyond who I thought I was and who I thought I was meant to be and called upon to be. As I really, really stretch, as I really, really widen beyond who I think I was, who I thought I was, now a different level of aliveness is settling into me. And the other way around, if I never stretch about the limits of who I've always believed myself to be, then there's a great descending need that accumulates more and more and more and more. I literally choke on my self-importance. My heart literally gets choked out by my self-importance. So nothing can come down. I'm not coming down. Humility is going out the window. But also the simple pressure, the pressure of me being it, just can't get down. So yeah, diaphragm's a regular chest flow. But it's going out into the world is what opens the middle so that, finally, life can settle into me and I can settle into who I really am and what's really mine to do and take responsibility for, but let the rest be taken care of in a bigger context. And umbilicus, if I'm never connecting to what's bigger than myself with umbilicus, if I'm never connecting to that, then there's a huge ascending needs that builds up in, I think, see, I was raised a Lutheran, not a Catholic, but I think in Catholic liturgy, certainly in the context of Latin masses, I think, there is this prayer De Profundis, which is Latin. It means from the depths, my soul, O Lord, cries out to you, or something like that. From the depths, from down there, from the dark places inside of me, something just screams, something just yells for what's up there. That to me is the kind of ascending need. Damn, it's dark, it's damp, it's stuffy down here. Something needs to rise. Something needs to rise. It's a huge, it's a deep, it's an existential ascending need that umbilicus function energy serves in its descending action, right? So it brings that stuff that lies beyond the horizon. It brings the supply from universal energy source down into my body, down into my heart, down into my life, therefore answering a deep need, a deep call for energy to raise its level and for energy to just simply come up from the lower parts of the body. I hope that made it a lot clearer. Thank you, Tash. And forgive me for not reading everything, but I'm quite certain I've covered everything. And I do want to get to Karen's question. Happy New Year still, Karen writes. Happy New Year to you and everyone as well. And my question this time is more general, about learning the various Jinshin-Jitsu flows and memorizing them. It's taken a while for me to remember a good number of flows for self-care without checking my notes each time. And I've noticed it helps to focus on them as a series of movements that I come to know on an embodied level. However, if I don't use a flow for a while, it can easily slip out of my memory. It often feels to me like learning a new language that is honed with everyday use and can fall asleep again when not used regularly. Also, I find it much trickier to remember flows on a treatment level. Starting with remembering which side to sit on, I'd love to hear about your experience in this sense and any tips you might have. Thanks so much and warm wishes, Karen. Karen, I know that some of my colleagues, I don't know if it's many, place great emphasis on the fact that a practitioner should really know these flows by heart. And while I certainly find it useful that I know most of them by heart, I don't find it useful to consider that we should know them, because you know what should does, that's why we have books. So that's the first part of my answer. Relieve yourself of the pressure of having to know them, and you will find yourself remembering them much more easily, in my opinion. And see, it's interesting that you're using the example of languages. I'm not a good one to ask about how to learn a language because I just do. Learning languages comes to me quickly and easily. And, it was the accepted wisdom that our ability to learn languages decreases from birth on, basically, and that after 20, maximum 22, you just won't be able to learn a foreign language. That's just, you might as well forget it. And of course, I'm not the only one who's proving that common wisdom wrong. But to me, not only did I learn 4 of the 7 languages that I speak well enough to teach in after the age of 22, I also seem to remember them notwithstanding not using them for a long time. I mean, I haven't spoken Italian in 23 years, and for most people it would be true. So what I'm saying is memory is a weird thing, and why it works the way it works, who knows? And when you forget something, how good that there are books. Me personally, learning the flows has always worked with how do they perform on a body. When I do a flow on someone, I remember the dance on the person's body that the flow is. That's just how it started making sense to me. And with that, I remember most of them, and I don't remember all of them. And I just open the book and don't stress out about it for the most part. So, wish I could help you more. But yeah, my two recommendations are stress out about it as little as you possibly can and follow the path that most joyfully helps you make the flow personal for yourself. P.S. I also still meant to thank you for putting a note about Carly Smith's mentoring sessions up on your Facebook page some time ago. I've been joining her sessions since, and it's been good to connect with others in the JSJ community in the UK in this way too. Thank you for mentioning that, Karen, and I'm deliberately reading that part out because Carly Smith is a wonderful instructor of Jin Shin Jitsu and a wonderful mentor and a deep thinker of Jin Shin Jitsu and of life, you know, one who deeply feels into things as well. So I deeply appreciate her as a friend and colleague and find her insights invaluable. So anyone who wants to look her up, it's Carlise with a Y, Carllyse, and Smith. So, and you'll find her on Facebook. Thank you, everybody. If you want to find out more about the online study circle and other online offerings, here is where you can find that. That's also where you can sign up for the newsletter if you're not receiving that yet. Needless to say, you can cancel reception of the newsletter at any time if after a while you decide it's too much mail in your inbox. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next month.